Like every performance I've ever had that I was proud of, there's only a couple, but they're the performances I'm really proud of. Like I wasn't thinking at all. It was almost like out of body experience. You're completely in the zone.
Everyone you meet every single day is fighting a battle you may know nothing about. We're all in the process of overcoming. I'm Justin Wren, and my story has been heard by millions of people through my book, my TED Talk, podcast interviews, TV shows, professional fighting, and my foundation, Fight for the Forgotten. I believe we are all overcomers if we choose to overcome. We all have the option. I've been given the opportunity to overcome childhood trauma, sexual abuse, immense bullying, depression, suicidal ideation, substance use disorder, and I am a 2-time suicide survivor. We are here to have conversations with some of the greatest minds of our time. Get ready to be inspired and to receive the tools and game plan to win this fight called life. Thank you for being here, for showing up for yourself. You, me, we have overcome 100% of our darkest days. I'm not done yet, and neither are you. This is your invitation to overcome.
It's 5:55.
I love that.
Oh, wait.
Five,
do it
five,
again. Do it
five.
again. Do it
1,
again.
2,
Sorry, this is the
3.
one.
I always visualize at 5:55. I don't know. Like
Do you really?
If I see 444, 555, I always I'll be in the middle of like a restaurant or the club or wherever we're at, and like I just stand up and just.
Well, it's still
I
555.
just
There
get my
you're
performance
doing it
keys
right
in.
now. I love it. What does 555 mean to you? Just kind of an angel number, magic number?
Yeah, anytime I see like 1111 or 555 or 444, it's just like a reminder. I just I use it as a reminder to visualize. I'm not like super big on like a lot of the woo-woo stuff, but it's like, it's just like, I just think visualizing is good. And so if I see that, I just use it as a cue. I just take it as a sign, like 222, 333, 444, 55, whatever, like 1111. I'm just like,
hits.
I just stop what I'm doing.
What a great time to start the show then.
It's perfect. It's meant to be.
And Amy loves 555.
Yeah, it's a great
That's
number.
hers.
Five's a great
In
number.
particular, I like
In
that.
particular.
Oh, specifically?
He likes them all. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I like 'em all.
What is it about 555 that?
I like the number 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I have a story about 1111. So my national championship, I was going to sleep and I was the underdog. No one counted. I was Texas wrestling, started at 15. And I was tossing and turning a bit for, I don't know, an hour or maybe 90 minutes. I think I tried to go to bed at 10. And I roll over and I look at the clock and I'm visualizing the wrestling match. We're in the finals.
Yeah.
And so I look over the clock, it's 11:11. And I'm like, I'm going to win this thing. Time to go to sleep. So I went to sleep. We're supposed to be on the bus at 10, maybe 10:30, but guys were still cutting weight.
Yeah.
And so a guy was late, and I step on the bus, and for some reason I look at my phone, and it was 11:11, and I'm like, yeah.
Good omens.
Going to the arena in the bus at 11:11, and then end up, winning that national championship. And it's been special to me ever since then.
That's very cool. Yeah. I like, I'm more of an even number guy, but like I'm much more of an even number guy, but I feel like 5 is the most even odd number. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like something about my OCD, something about my OCD completely accepts 5 as like
it hits 10, 20, 25,
right.
30.
Yeah. and then 1, obviously 1 is like
number 1.
It's just perfectly symmetrical. Like I love it. It's just everything about it. Like my OCD just loves it. Like it's perfect.
Do you think OCD at all helps with fighting? Being almost like obsessive about the technique?
Yeah, I think it's both, It's like I think it's just like anything else, like there's a point of diminishing returns. And I felt both things. Like I've gotten more reps than anybody in the room on a certain technique because like at home because I can't stop till it's perfect, I can't stop. I literally have to I ask my coach, was that the one? Was that the one? Was that the one? Mm-hmm. And they're honest with me, like, nah, that wasn't the best one. Like, we have to finish on the best one, and my coaches have kind of come to accept it. They just know, like, if the mid session's from 11 to 12, we're going to be there till, like, 12:07 because, like, we're going to run that last combo until it's perfect and, like, till it feels perfect until they say it's the one and I feel like it's the one. And so, yeah, it does help with getting extra reps and it does help being a perfectionist. But, just like anything else, point of diminishing returns, like, if you don't shut that off, if you have that, like when you're fighting, you have to be an autopilot. Like you can't have those. If you're thinking, and you're probably overthinking. If you're overthinking, then you're doubting. And it's all these things. Like you have to be, like every performance I've ever had that I was proud of. There's only a couple, but they're the performances I'm really proud of. Like I wasn't thinking at all. It was almost like out of body experience. You're completely in the zone. Every time
in that flow,
in the flow state. Yeah. And every time I'm I'm thinking and I'm being compulsive and stuff, like I have to shut it down, or it will get in the way of performing at your best. So I think it's both things. It's like it's just like anything else. If you use it as fuel, then yeah, it's good. But if you kind of, the brain is a good servant and a bad master. You know what I mean?
Ooh,
yeah.
I like that.
I wish I could say I came up with it. Someone did. And I stole it from them shamelessly. Any wisdom I drop today, not that it's gonna happen, but if it happens, I stole it shamelessly from someone else.
Yeah.
And I just pretend it's mine.
Well, where do you think a lot of your wisdom comes from? Is it
Stealing
and coaching?
Steal, yeah.
Maybe?
Good artists borrow, great artists steal, right?
Yeah.
Warhol said that. Every time I learn anything.
Steal like an artist. Have you
Steve,
read that
yes.
book?
No.
I was Austin Kleon. He lives here in Austin, as
Really?
a matter of fact. Mm-hmm.
Really? I feel like there's a lot of good minds and creative people in Austin.
Yeah.
I love this place. But yeah, I steal shamelessly. Like when I make a joke about it. Like I love it. Like I still I'll learn something. Like it's a joke. Like I make it when I came down here to train with the Donaher guys, and when I train with them, like I'll learn something for the first time, and the first time I do it, I'll just stop and go, yeah, it's something me and John been working on a little bit. Like I'll pretend that it's our thing, but it's like I just like stole this technique from 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think you told John whenever we learned something today together, because you came, and Amy, I was training with the two other big boys in the room. I got big old boy from Tennessee, like 250 pounds. Another guy from South Africa, like over 200 pounds. But Andre walked on the mats, and he had just finished the MMA training. So he got 4.5 hours of straight training.
Yeah.
And he came up and grabbed me. And Andre, what weight are you?
Probably
right
like
now?
$170 right now. Well, wait, hold on. Let me see that camera. Yeah, it's
It's a good bicep.
70
Samoan
something.
strength?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
No, I'm probably like 60. I'm somewhere between 68 and 71. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Came and grabbed a guy 100 pounds bigger than him to do the drilling.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
It was fun, yeah.
We've really hit it off, man, and I'm just so grateful for you. We got to go to the fights.
Feelings mutual.
It was awesome. I've been a big fan of yours for many, many years.
Thank you. Yep, same.
2013 was your debut in the UFC.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about it. That's crazy. It's so long ago. It's crazy to think I've been doing this so long. Yeah. But I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. Like I feel like I've grown up in the UFC. Like my career has.
You started in 2009?
I went pro in 2009, like early 2009. I wanted to go pro right at 18 in 2008. And I don't remember what happened. Like I remember graduating high school. I was 17 and I was like ready to go pro because in California, they didn't, I think like 6 months or 8 months after I went pro, California finally made amateur MMA legal. So I had like 2 smokers with like the gym like blacked out the windows and you're like fighting in some sketchy gym. I had like 2 of those and I was like, whatever, dude, I'm just gonna go pro. Like I'm gonna make some money. Because MMA is weird at the early pro level. You might be fighting a guy out of the crowd. It's like technically a pro fight, but it's like you could be fighting another stud kid, or you could be fighting a guy out of the crowd, or you could be fighting. It's such chaos that I was like, man, if I'm going to do this, like I'm getting paid. Like I want to just fast track. I want to be in the UFC, and so I went pro. What I felt like was late at 19 and 09, and then I got in the UFC at 23. And now I'm turning 32 in like a week. So I'm like, It's crazy to think, man.
What do you think? I wonder what the data says, but what do you think the average UFC career is?
I don't know. I know mine's pretty,
or fight wise.
I know that
yours
mine is pretty
on
long.
the long.
And the other thing is, I had a lot of fights before I got in the UFC too. Like some guys get in the UFC at 6-1. I was like, after my first UFC win, I was like 13-1. Like I had fought everybody in the division. I had fought everybody in my region. I was going up from 145 to 170 to challenge the 170 champ, because I just was doing anything to get Dana to like eyes on me, like to sign me. So and actually it would have been crazy. The champ at the time for the promotion that I was in at 170 is Max Griffin, who's now a 170 pounder in the UFC. He's like a really gnarly dude. So yeah, it would have been interesting for sure.
Yeah. Well, man, I had a blast. Us going to the fights together. We were up in the suites. Then we were down on the front row.
Yeah.
We were sitting with your girl Melissa and Uriah and Joseph Benavidez. Yeah. And what a night of fights for Austin.
Yeah, it was incredible, man. Everybody, I think it tied the most knockouts for one night, like for a UFC record.
It broke the record in the gate.
Oh, really?
For the U.S.
No shit.
It was the all-time grossing gate. It was like close to $2 million.
Wow. It was a pretty packed house. Huh?
It was. It was.
Yeah, it's a brand new arena too, they said, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
brand
really
new.
cool. The Moody Center.
Yeah, the Moody Center
Yeah.
at UT, and also I think it's the Austin prices too that probably helped the gate.
Right,
I mean, it's now like LA,
Yeah.
expensive.
That's valid.
But it was
Having Joe here doesn't hurt.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome seeing him in the crowd, not commentating.
Yeah, he was
just soaking
chilling.
it
Yeah,
up.
man, he's an American hero, dude. We need that guy. He's the man. It was very cool. The whole night was perfect, and I mean, it sounds shallow, but the biggest thing is that all my friends won their fight, so I could actually enjoy it, because it's like, man, you can have an awesome night of fights like that, and one of your friends comes up short, and it kind of just ruins the whole. Fighting is very like feast and famine. It's very high, very low lows, and so you almost can't enjoy the rest of your night when if your friend loses a fight. And thankfully, all three of my friends that were on the card performed incredibly.
Who were?
Ricardo Ramos had this sick spinning back elbow. Yeah, nasty. Cody Stamen looked like a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh Emmett went to war. Yeah, main event went to war with Calvin Cater. And both those guys, had an incredible fight. But Josh ended up getting the win, which I felt he deserved.
Yeah.
But again, we were talking about this. I'm so biased. Like if my friends are fighting, my friends could get 10-8'd. Like my friends could get their ass whooped the whole round, and I'll still make the argument like, wow, maybe I can't watch my friends fight. If my friend's fighting and you ask me if they won the round, the answer is yes. Like I just can't. I'm so biased. So going at the end of that Josh Emmett fight, which was a war, I was like confident that he was up like 3-2 or 4-1, and everybody around me was like, I don't know, man, might be. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like it's not even close. And then you hear that split decision, and you're like, oh my god, they're gonna rob this man. Like please don't steal half my friend's money. Like please,
Yeah.
And thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, for sure. It was a war, an absolute war. It was fun for me because. I don't know Josh well, and for me to sit with all the people that love him, was explain that a little bit for the people listening that don't know what that's like. I mean, compare it to you going in and fighting, and then a guy like Josh going in and fighting someone love, and you want to win, but the difference in emotions.
Yeah, I think fighting is always it's always high emotion. It's high energy. There's a lot on the line. It's not. There's a reason when guys get in the cage, like you hug your cornerman. Like that doesn't happen in other sports because there's real there can be real consequences for what happens in that cage. And so, it's nerve-wracking to watch people you love and care about fight because you have no control. When you go do this thing that objectively is pretty crazy, like a lot of it's a very intense experience for someone to go through. And even as a fighter, it's always still intense. It's not like it doesn't get less intense. Each time you do it, you're still like, you still have those feelings. But when you're the one fighting, you can harness those feelings and you can have some amount of control over what happens because you're the one that is going into the fire. And when it's your friend, you're kind of helpless. You have to just watch and hope for the best and yell a lot, and hopefully he hears you, or maybe you see something and you give him a little bit of encouragement that helps. But really it's all on him, And fighting, obviously, to people on the outside, fighting is a individual sport, and that's true to a certain degree. But every person you see in the cage has people that love them, has family, has friends, but has an entire team of people that help them get to that point and are invested in them. And so you don't want to see your friend get hurt. You don't want to see your friend let an opportunity slip. You don't want to see all your friends' hard work not come to fruition, and that's there's pretty dire consequences for what happens in the cage. And so there's just this intense stress when your friends are fighting and you can't do anything about it, and you got to sit back and hope for the best. And thankfully it was our night.
Yeah, it was. And it was fun to watch you because bouncing around, looking like you were ready to get in there,
dude.
And you doing this, shaking it out, just breathing. And then afterwards is like this adrenaline dump.
I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I did nothing, but I just watched my friend fight for 25 minutes. And afterwards I was like, oh God, I got to sit down. I got to give me some water. I'm like going through it,
Well, what's neat also was seeing how loved you are by everyone behind the scenes. I mean, whether it's even the refs, the doctors, the UFC staff, the fans. I mean, you're just a fan favorite.
Thank you.
And I think a promotion favorite. Like, they know you are a good dude. You always bring it. You've gone to every fight as a war and competitive, and you fight against the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. I think there's something that I definitely, the respect of your peers, I think is something that is a good indicator of someone's character. I think when I look at other people, it's nice to have like adoration. Like, everybody wants to be adored by fans, and everybody wants to like be in the spotlight, and that's part of why we do this, right? And to be recognized by fans, and that's amazing. And anyone who supports me, like any fan that supports me, I really appreciate. I genuinely appreciate it. I don't have the biggest fan base, but I have an incredibly loyal fan base and supportive fan base, and it means the world to me. But on top of that, I really make a point to treat people with respect, and regardless of the situation. So when we're talking about UFC, whether we're talking about refs or UFC employees or people behind the scenes, it's like I've kind of grown up in this thing, and I think that the way you treat people says a lot about you. And so for me, I mean, I always want to be treated with respect. So I do my best in every situation to treat people with respect. And I think that carries over, People look at the UFC like it's this giant corporation, which it is. It's this big billion-dollar company. But inside of that company are these small teams of people that keep things running. Like you have your your whatever talent relations team, and you have your social media team, and you have your logistics team, and you have all these people, and it's like they're all just people doing their best to run the biggest fight show in the world, just like fighters are under stress, like those people are under stress. And so I think a little bit of like just friendliness and kindness and just respect goes a long way. Sometimes you see fighters like start to kind of think, like, believe that they're really a big deal, and I get it. I mean, I don't get it, but I understand it.
Yeah.
And I just think it's like not a good way to carry yourself. And I think it's important to remember that you're going to have your best moments and your worst moments in that cage. And the small teams of people that are helping you along the way are how they feel about you, and how you treat them goes a long way.
This podcast is brought to you by Onnit.com. Onnit.com/overcome. Use the code OVERCOME to save yourself 10% on, I'm holding in my hands, the Alpha Brain Focus Shot. It's in this cool container. Amy's got the website pulled up for you guys watching on YouTube.
Did you drink your focus shot this morning?
Absolutely.
I thought you did. I did too.
Yeah. How do you like it?
Oh my God, I feel so good.
I always feel
because it's early right now on a Monday.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
This is one of the earliest podcasts we've done.
Well, this is early for you. Early for you.
Well, to go on the show, yeah, for sure. And it promotes focus and energy, supports a positive mood state, helps manage mental stress. And for me, I truly feel like it helps me get in the flow state faster, stay there longer. Whether I'm going into sparring, I had one before I went to sparring yesterday, and I had a 4.5 hour training session because they were stacked. So I went from 12 to 1:30 and then straight over to the gym from 2 to 4:30, 4:40. Came home tired last night, but I was focused the entire time.
I feel like it's very reliable about how I'm going to feel. The more I've used it, the more doing this show, really, the more I'm able to know that when I drink it, I'm going to be on point. My brain's going to be functioning really well. I feel generally good. And that's been so nice to be able to know that it is not going to suddenly make me jittery or suddenly make me feel nauseous or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, that for me is important because some of the products with caffeine, which just has some caffeine, but it's like plant-based and it's healthy and it's a low dose.
It's not jittery bad.
It's not jittery at all. And sometimes I'll have, one of those energy drinks or something, and then I'm over-caffeinated, overstimulated, and then I feel like I can't think as good.
That's not good.
Because it's bothering me.
Yeah.
And all the Alpha Brain line is super reliable. The capsules, my favorites, one of my favorites are the Instant, then the Black Label, and my all-time favorite is what we're talking about now, the Alpha Brain Focus Shots. They're incredibly good tasting. The tropical flavor, they also have peach, I believe, but mine's the tropical because it's passion fruit. And that's
It delivers
my favorite fruit.
consistently. And sometimes I'll take one and I'll split it between 2 smoothies when I make it for us in the morning. I'll just throw a little bit in each and just adds a little something to like our protein powder and the fruit and whatever else we've got in there.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Onnit, for supporting me, my comeback to fighting, Fight for the Forgotten, and this podcast. They make it possible. So please support our sponsors, who honestly I think have the best supplement line in the world. And our favorite products, Alpha Brain or Total Human, get the best in one packet, a morning support and a night support. Thank you for being here with Overcome with Justin Wren and onnit.com.
Be sure to use that code.
Use the code Overcome.
Yep.
Save yourself some money. You were so generous with your time with the fans, which was so cool. I was grabbing people's cameras and taking pictures of them with Andre, and it was a lot of fun. And we got to connect with, shout out to Sean Shelby, one of the best in the business. Been with UFC, I think 20 years now.
Forever,
or close to that.
Yeah.
And he's your matchmaker, right?
Yes,
and then
sir, yeah.
so you guys and him and I had a great conversation on the way back to the Fighter Hotel on the bus. But I could just see the respect he had for you too, but also the respect you had for him.
Yeah.
And then maybe the biggest thing was Calvin's cornermen, right? They immediately after the fight, losing a split decision, like they came up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been in the cage with him.
Yeah.
And then they came up to you and gave you a hug. You gave them hugs.
Yeah.
And just that mutual respect, you know?
Yeah. I think, yeah, like you said, mutual respect and just like treating people like human beings, man. Like those guys are cool guys. Like the cartel guys, the dudes out, the New England guys, Boston dudes. They're cool. Rob Font, Calvin Cater, those guys they're good dudes. And like you said, it's just a mutual respect thing. It's just I want my friend to win. Like I want him to win so badly that like it's like I'm losing my fucking mind, right? Like sorry, excuse my language. I don't know.
You're good.
I don't know what kind of show this is.
You
but,
can say anything you want.
I'm losing my mind over there. But like I don't want Calvin to get hurt. You know what I'm saying? And like I understand that like this is the nature of the sport. Like when I win, I take food from someone else's kid's plate. Like that's not lost on me. You know what I'm saying? Like Calvin also has his own dream, and I lost a close fight to Calvin. Like I fought Calvin in his debut. But there's no ill will. Like right, like this is the sport. Like I have to take if we're fighting. Like I have to take money and opportunity away from you so that I can have it. It's a game of scarcity. And so when the cage door is locked, yeah, you got to like go try to kill that dude. And then not literally, but you got to go try to like, you have to impose your will. Like you have to shut that dude's lights off. As soon as it's over, it's like, man, like that's another person whose dream got a big speed bump in the road tonight. Like that guy has to go home and face people in his hometown. Like that's what people they treat us like a lot of fans, they treat us like we're like pro wrestlers, like we're a character, like it's a gimmick. But it's like, man, we are human beings. Like you saw me have the best or worst night of my life. Like I got to go back to the coffee shop in my hometown, and like I got to go back into the little shops that I go to, and I got to go back to the gym, and I got to go see my little sisters, and I got to like face these people, knowing that I let everybody down, and like that's not lost on me. Like I'm very happy for my friend Josh. I'm very happy that he gets to enjoy and we get to have this moment, but it's not lost on me that Calvin and his friends don't get to have that. And so just having a moment to just say what's up and just give Rob Font a heads up and a hug and just go, yo, like great fucking job. You know, like that, to me, that type of shit goes a long way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. On the mutual respect thing, early on in my career, I had a guy that was talking so much trash before the fight. And it actually got underneath my skin. He was a Nebraska wrestler. And he was saying, because I grew up in Texas, there was, he was a better wrestler. He would smash me. He was going to take me down. He was going to own me, control me. And so I didn't know how to trash talk. And so at the press conference, whatever, interviews, I'm like, I guess he's the better wrestler. You know, I guess this, we'll see tomorrow night. It was the first time ever, we were watching and Kevin Holland's, talking in there, right, to
Yeah.
the opponent. I've never been that way.
Right.
But one time I did, and it was to him. And it was just whenever I took him down, he started trying a Peterson roll, and I would name it and then stop it, hit him. He would start trying another move. I'd name what he's trying to do before he did it, and then hit him. And then so it was a mind game, right? Like saying, hey, I know what you're trying to do, and you're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up knocking him out, finishing the fight in the first round.
Nice.
And afterwards, him and his wife came to my after party, and we hung out. I think the mutual respect, people don't, unless you've done it, you don't understand that you know that human being in a different way than the majority of the population ever will know another person.
100%.
And we hugged, we laughed, and she was talking to me about how I was naming the moves and all this stuff. Then after that fight, I decided to go to Africa for the first time. I made a post about it. Him and his wife paid for my flight to go there and back.
Whoa, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
His name was
awesome.
Josh Henry, and I'm really grateful for him.
That's awesome.
I was just like, wow, like that's really unique
Yeah.
in the sport. I don't know if, maybe in the NFL when guys are making millions and millions of dollars, they might donate to somebody's cause or something like that. But whenever you're up and coming, you're not making that much.
You're making just enough to keep training and keep food on the table and continue to fight, really.
Yeah. You might even be in the hole afterwards.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And so that was just, it blew me away. And so do you have any moments like that of or how would you say that to someone where you've gone to war against somebody, but now there's this unique bond?
Yeah, I think there's something, I think like when I think about that type of situation, as far as unique bond or like a real respect, like I think about a guy like I fought Max Holloway my first. There was no trash talk. Like we were cool then, we're cool now. I look at Max as a guy where I'm like, man, if he'd have grown up in Sacramento, I think we'd have been friends. If I'd have grown up in Waianae, we'd be friends. My dad is actually from Waianae. I have a bunch of friends and family in that area, and I just like I really genuinely have a love for Max as a example of just being a good guy and a badass fighter. And we fought my second fight in the UFC, and I lost a close fight to him. He caught me with caught me in the third, like a minute left. He caught me with a really nasty high elbow guillotine.
And for people that might not be, hardcore UFC fans, they still probably know the name Max Holloway, but he's a legend.
He's a legend. Yeah, he's one of the best.
One of the greatest.
He'll go down as one of the best featherweights ever. And I can't wait to win some fights so I can join him on that list.
Yeah,
but,
there you go. I love it.
But he really is something special, and we fought all those years ago, almost 10 years ago. And we've both continued to fight in this sport, and I just feel like there's like I still root, like after our fight, like I continue to root for him. Like there's no like bitterness or like envy or like when he does good, like I'm happy to see it. It's like there's a certain thing that you get from guys when you fight that you just have a respect basically forever. You know what I mean? And there's other guys that you fight and you generally don't like them, and like he's a prick now. He's a prick when I fought him. He's like gonna be a prick in 10 years. Like there's a few of those guys, but generally speaking, most guys like that you fight afterwards, there's a real respect for.
Yeah, and Max seems like he's just such a good dude.
Yeah, great people.
Great dad.
Very genuine, yeah. I think the vast majority of the guys I fought, losses and wins, like after I beat them, it's the same. I feel that from other people too. So, yeah, man.
What would you say? Because I think that the high highs and the low lows are so drastic in fighting.
Yeah.
In handling losses, I actually have a clip I want to pull up in a minute, but I want to get your take first, because I take losses pretty hard, but there's some great examples of people who handle it in stride and come back better than ever. Even Cody in his win, coming back from a loss that he said he felt so great for his last fight, and then he was just confused. Like everything at camp went perfect,
Right.
still came up short. And then he came back and just made a statement on Saturday night. But what do you think is a key to life? Because life's a fight, and to win this fight called life, you need to be able to handle losses, move through them. And I think we have a unique experience. You have a unique experience because you can battle back and show what you're made of instead of just crumbling and never trying again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think, crumbling and never trying again, that genuinely doesn't cross my mind. Like I don't know exactly what it is, but maybe the way I grew up or genetics or something, but there's just something like, I don't think about not trying. But I do take losses hard, I'm probably not the guy to give people advice about not taking I have the last few years I have really started to get better at it, but for the vast majority of my career, I got too high with the highs and I got too low with the lows, and I would battle some serious depression. It's something that I've struggled with since I was single digit age, very young. But even after wins, it would hit real hard. It was like I have this singular purpose and focus and goal, and it's to win this fight on this day against this person. This is everything I have. I'm pouring into this, and when it doesn't happen, it's heartbreaking. Then even when it does, in the past, even when it does, it's like this dump. It's like this drop off. It's like I feel aimless, and I would gain 30 pounds, and I'd spend 2 months partying and drinking and eating and just feeling sorry for myself and doing all kinds of other self-destructive, self-indulgent things that were. It was I was I don't know. I was punishing myself or something. I was I don't know what it was. It was I'm not exactly sure what it was. I used to just have these after fights. I used to have these big I'm such an all or nothing guy. When I'm training hard, I'm also I'm training hard. I'm eating good. I'm going to sleep good. I'm checking in on people. I'm calling my mom. I'm taking my dog for a walk. I'm up early. I'm a better friend. I'm a better lover. I'm a better all these things. And then when you fall into that pit of despair, it's not just I've been a little unfocused with training. It's dude, I haven't been training how I know I need to. I've been eating how I know I need to. I haven't been a good boyfriend. I haven't been a good son. I haven't been a good friend. And so for the last few years, it's been really one of my biggest focuses and really something I've become proud of is that no matter how the fight goes or no matter how anything else goes in my life, I can find that sort of homeostasis where Uriah says take the lesson, leave the experience, right? So it's water. He's always saying water off a duck's back, water off a duck's back, just roll with it, And so that's what I've kind of learned to do these last few years, but it took me a long time, man. It's not I don't want to sit here and pretend I have some ultimate poise that I had it figured out. It's dude, I'm 32 and I just figured this out 3 or 4 years ago. I just started figuring out 3 or 4 years ago, and I still struggle with it. Melissa just had to remind me after the last fight because it went about as bad as it can go. I put in all this work. I busted him out. I put every ounce of my soul into this, and then I got clipped by a random punch in 40 seconds. And I wasn't hurt. I wasn't knocked out, but I got clipped. I got dropped, and the ref stopped the fight. And then it was 3 weeks later. I'm just it's 3 weeks later. You fast, it just goes like that, And it's 3 weeks later, and I'm just kind of sort of aimless. I'm still training. I'm still eating better. I haven't gone off the deep end like I used to, but I'm definitely not as positive, not as good to be around. I'm not as focused as I was a few weeks before the fight. And Melissa just had to remind me, so I don't want.
What did she say? Or any advice?
Get your shit together.
Yeah.
She just kind of hit me with it. She's like, I don't want to be with someone who's fucking negative and feels like shit all the time and is sad all the time and is I'm like.
Well, how important is that to have someone in your life that can speak that kind of truth?
It's so important. It's so important to have people who love you, people who really love you, aren't almost ever going to tell you what you want to hear. Accountability is a very strong form of love, whether it's your coaches or your girlfriend or your parents or whatever. If you have someone in your life, and obviously like if someone's just being a dickhead to you, that's not constructive. But the people in your life that love you the most are the ones that are going to give you the real shit that you need to hear. And I think people, especially my generation and younger, they shy away from that. Like they want to just be like coddled and a pat on the ass and like you want to be told you're the best. It's like, no, like you need people to tell you when you're fucking up. And if the people around you don't do that, then they don't have your best interest. You know, you need people to cut it to you straight.
Yeah. Well, I think Daniel Cormier, who came over and gave you a head nod right after you and Uriah a head nod right after the fight, I think he handles losses really hard. I mean, I do. And the reason I bring that up is I think there's got to be something about human psychology with high performers that it's really hard to accept a loss. And I know that, at least from my wrestling background and fighting, like there's the people that handle losses the toughest, but then come back and use that as fuel for training. Like they just start to excel. Because I think it's probably this thing, I never want to feel this again, you know, putting all this work in. But bringing up DC, I have a clip. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but it was, I think, just posted today. And one of the guys that we saw lose, he had it's the first time I've ever seen this in MMA, so I thought I would throw it up real quick. Mike, I'm queuing up that video. I don't want Andre to be able to see this.
Quick breakdown of the fight for me. I break my orbital bone. Boom. Right there, 20 seconds in. He elbowed me. See, I'm grabbing my eye. I thought he poked me. It was such a weird feeling. Now, the dog came and see me before the next round. Boy, get your ass out the cage. We fighting. I heard some drunk dudes in the stands cheering me on, so I figured I'd get up. I get up. I'm digging in my ear. I don't even know what's going on. We back to fighting. I'm trying to make it dirty. We throwing elbows. I'm throwing elbows. He elbows me for the 3 millionth time. I'm grabbing my head, tired of getting elbowed. I'm like, stop elbowing me. He shoots on me. I sprawl. I think I'm on to something. Make it dirty. Dirty box. Throw some more elbows. Because we throwing elbows. He elbows me for the 4 millionth time. I'm looking at Herb like, boy, what took your ass so long?
I just was like, whoa, how big of him to come on, do his own breakdown of a pretty brutal defeat.
Yeah. That was Darren Wynn?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of DC's guys, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I wrestled with him growing up.
Yeah, he's a stud, huh?
He's a stud.
Yeah.
He's a stud, but I was just like, whoa, that's different.
Yeah.
That's different for a guy to break down his fight, 2 days later?
Yeah.
With a broken orbital bone?
That feeling is so weird, dude.
Yeah.
Have you had that happen?
No.
That happened to me when I fought Yair Rodriguez. I leaned into a jumping kick. Is like the only time I've ever been really knocked out. Like this last fight, I got dropped, but when Yair hit me, I was still talking a little bit, but I was like, it was the most I've been rocked. I basically leaned into a baseball bat. You know what I mean? He jumping, switch kicked. So something happened when I fought Yair. I know exactly what Darren is talking about. Duran is talking about. Like, I got something happened in the fight with Yair, and it's the weirdest feeling. Like I realize after the fight it was my orbital, but I got this little orbital break, and what happens is, what I was told was that the muscle that moves your eye gets caught on the crack in the bone in your face, and so like
Ouch.
I didn't get hit hard, but it just fractured that. It just hit right and it fractured my orbital. And I'm looking at Yair, and in my left eye, there's one of him, and then in my right ear, there's 3 of him, and they're like going like this.
Wow.
And I'm like fucking trying to wipe my eye, and it feels weird. It feels like the inside of your eye is like, it feels like almost like a spasm or a cramp inside your face. So you're like, I gotta stop this, and I go to wipe my eye, and as soon as I lean to wipe my eye, I just get smacked with this kick. But I remember the exact feeling that he's talking about, where you're just like, it's like a bug crawling in your cheek or something. You're like, I like, even in the middle of the fight, you got to just stop and be like, fuck, whatever is going on.
What is this?
It's so weird. It's funny because immediately when he said that, I know that feeling, man. Yeah. And it happened again when I fought. I think it hadn't healed all the way probably, and it happened again when I fought Artem Lobov. And that time I was like, nope, fuck it. I'm just I'll fight all 4 of them. I don't care if there's 4 of them there. I don't care. Like, I'm not leaning into something again. I'm like, whatever. I'm keeping my eyes glued. But yeah, it's man, anyone who hasn't experienced that orbital break is no joke. And for him to come out 2 days later and be able to laugh about it, I think it's probably like a healthier way to deal with it than most of us do. You know?
Yeah. For me, I was like, whoa, that was big of you, man. You're such a good sport, such a great sport. But man, so there was something interesting that happened. Was it before your last fight? There was an 8-month layoff.
Yeah,
something like that. And you had fought out your contract, or how did that go?
Yeah, so I had fought out my contract, and the negotiations had kind of broken down. My manager at the time and Sean Shelby were, at odds, and it's a long, complicated story. But basically, what happened is I went 8 months without having a UFC contract, and it was a pretty dark time for me. To be honest, it was pretty rough. I really started like questioning things, man. Like, when people say like, oh, I lost sleep, like I've never thought it was like a real expression, but like it would keep me up at night, man. Like, I'm 31. I've never been a world champion. I haven't accomplished the things I set out to accomplish yet. I'm going to, but I haven't done it yet. All I've ever known is fighting. Like, all I've ever been is a fighter, and now I'm not even that. Like, I'm unemployed. Like, technically, I'm not a UFC fighter. It doesn't matter that people look at you like a UFC fighter. Like, I don't have a contract. Like, I don't have a contract, and there's no prospect of one anytime soon. Like, no one seems to have an answer for me. And so I went 8 months with no income. I went 8 months with no prospect of income. I went 8 months with, I'm still grinding. I'm still doing 3-a-days, but it's like sprinting with no finish line, and it was a real test for me to persevere through that, because, I want to start a family. I got bought a house. I have a mortgage now. I'm trying to move into this next phase of like being a real adult, and it's hard to do that with no income. It's hard to do that when technically, you're unemployed. And also just like, I think, as a man, like for self-worth, you're like, what do you do? Like, if you ask someone what you do and they don't have an answer, it's kind of indicative of something, in my opinion. If you ask someone, they don't have an answer what they do. Like, I'm a fighter. I'm a born fighter. And so to not have a contract, to know that I'm one of the best fighters in the world, and to be unemployed, and to just go 8 months of hearing like no's, like everything that kind of started to pop up got turned down or fell through, and it was just like a really, really tough time for me, man. And I had to pull myself out of that place.
Fightfortheforgotten.org. You can go check out Fight for the Forgotten, the foundation that I started. It is my passion project. It is something that I love so much because of the people we get to help. We get to help the Pygmy tribe who adopted me in help themselves. We say opportunity is greater than charity. Charity can be great, but opportunity is just always better. That's why we've drilled something like 80 water wells already, providing over 30,000 people clean water. We've started sustainable farms, bought back over 3,000 acres of land for the people who originally owned it, put it in their name. We built 32 homes, and now we're about to start a health center, a school, and a marketplace. They're going to have a maternity ward, a pediatrics unit, and a dental suite. You can join the Fight for the Forgotten Fight Club at fightfortheforgotten.org. We would love, love, love to invite you on this journey to join this fight arm in arm with us. Our fight club, it's a monthly giving club. You can give $5 or more a month, and that empowers us to empower people. Thank you for being on this journey with us. I invite you to come along for the ride. It's been absolutely epic, putting love and compassion in action and fighting for people. Fightfortheforgotten.org. Join our fight club. Yeah, and so for people that don't have a good understanding or a great understanding of the sport, when a fighter is fighting out his contract, it's because normally they'll try to sign you again with one fight left. Mm-hmm. And then if you choose to fight out your contract, that is a place where it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, it's a high risk, high reward.
Yeah, so you were betting on yourself.
Right, yeah.
And saying, hey, I got this, and I'm going to be stepping into a better contract because now I have a mortgage. I'm going to build a life. I'm starting a family. all these things. And so you bet on yourself, and then there's this stage, and it was a no contest, right?
Yeah, well,
And-
that's what started the whole thing. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's what started the whole thing. Is I had one of my best performances I think I've ever had in the cage, and I didn't get. Not only did I not get my win on paper, but I also didn't get the other half of my money. So obviously, I mean, most people know this, but when you fight, you make a certain amount to fight, and then you make double that to win.
A show and a win.
A show and a win. And it doesn't matter that I had one of the best performances of my career. It doesn't matter that it was a 10-8 round. It doesn't matter that I hit him with everything you can hit someone with. Doesn't matter. It's not a win. And so not only do I not get my win, I don't get my win money either. And so it's like I had this 3-month camp where I put everything, every ounce of myself into it. And then I had the performance that I manifested. I had this great performance. And then because of some stupid thing, not only was it like a small eye poke, I was obviously wanting to continue fighting, but he was begging to continue fighting as well. And for whatever reason, the doctor just said that the fight was off. You know, he said he couldn't open his eye, which, I mean, he couldn't, but I also just kicked him in his eye and his eye was split open. So it's like that I probably had something to do with it too, you know? So it's like I spent months like pouring my soul into this thing. And then I was so close to getting the reward, right? Like for all that hard work coming to fruition, and then it gets taken from me. And then it just
8 months of uncertainty.
And then 8 months of uncertainty off of that. Like maybe had that eye poke not have happened and I finished Daniel Pineda and I come off this big win, best performance of my career, and I get this new contract and they re-sign me for more and all this stuff. It's like I took that gamble and it didn't pay off, you know? It ended up paying off, but it took a lot longer than I expected. I ended up getting re-signed. I got a nice little raise. Like things are great now, but I had almost a year's worth of letdowns, like genuine, like disappointments. Like I didn't get my win on pay. I didn't get my win. I didn't get my win money. Excuse me. I didn't get a new contract. You know, and there's all kinds of things you're missing out on when you don't have like I had these plans, you know, I was talking to friends about these investments. Those fell through because I don't have the money to do that. Like I wasn't able to come out here to Texas and continue training with Donner because like I got to make sure rent is paid and not buy some flights to Texas. You know, it's expensive. And so I just felt like not only did I not have this contract, and not only did I have this like monetary thing hanging over my head, but it's like I'm also like every day I'm getting older and I'm not doing the thing that I love, and I don't have any prospect of being able to do the thing I love. Like time is the most precious resource. It's like, and I'm just like watching the days off the calendar, like fuck, I gotta fight. No one's got an answer for me. No one's got an opportunity for me. It's just everywhere I turn is a no. So it was really tough, man. It was really tough to it was a test, honestly.
Yeah. And Amy, I think I'm hearing the computer fan. Maybe if we can push the microphone a little away, or it might be Mike's. But and anytime you have a question, please jump in as well. And so with that uncertainty, now things are looking a lot better. You're preparing for something coming up. Is that able to be announced?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I found out from the internet. Like,
okay,
I thought it was gonna happen, and then the internet posted it, and I'm like, oh, it must be real now. So yeah, I'm fighting Lando Vannata. September 17th. It's gonna be a banger.
I wanted to say it, but I just was just making sure.
So to cap that story, I had 8 months of the most uncertain and some of the lowest times of my life, and then I got re-signed, and then I fought again, and it did not go how I wanted. So it's like, but in a weird way, it was almost like the universe just gave me a little reminder. It's like I was so down on myself for these 8 months, like, and I pulled myself up, and I started being positive. I started getting my ass in shape, and I started even better shape than I was in, and I refocused, and it was this 8 months of like a low point that was a test, and I came out the other side better, and then I poured my soul into another fight camp, and it didn't go my way, and it was almost like the universe. I took it as the universe just giving me a reminder, like, dude, it can always be worse. Like, appreciate how good you have it. Like, you get to do what you love. Like, even if it takes 8 months, you still get to do what you love. And so I'm going into this camp now against Lando Vannata, just like in love with fighting. Like, I get to do what I love every day, you know? And there's going to be ups and downs, but like, I feel like I've earned it. I feel like I've earned this happiness. I've earned the fresh perspective I have, because I went through that tough reminder of like, man, it can be worse. And even when it's bad, you still get to do what you love. Like I still have a beautiful girlfriend and an awesome group of friends and a beautiful support group with my family, and I fucking get to fist fight every day. Like it's like what, it's like it's a nice little, sometimes universal smack you in the face and remind you like, stop fucking complaining. Like your life is awesome, and maybe that's what I needed.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to go back out there. I'm excited to fight Lando. I'm excited to perform. And
how exciting is that fight? I mean, this is one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC, both of them.
Yeah.
Fan favorites. Everyone loves you both.
Yeah.
And so
Lando's game is sick, dude.
Yeah.
He's so fun to watch fight. Like every time he fights, I think it's a good time to watch him fight. He just fought Jourdain, and he lost to Jourdain.
Who you beat?
Oh, I beat. Yeah, that's another guy. We talked about that mutual respect thing. That sort of bond after you fight somebody. And Jourdain's another guy. Like I lost to Holloway. I feel that. I beat Jourdain, and I feel that he's this young kid who after I beat him, I saw on his social media, and I just saw how hard it was for him. I saw how that first real loss is tough. Like I think he had probably lost on the regional circuit, but he was on a little tear, and he was coming to the UFC, I think, off of his win. I think he'd won a fight in the UFC when he went to fight me, and he's fucking tough, man. That kid's going to have a real bright future, but I could tell how hard it was when he lost to me for him. And so I kind of reached out and was just like, man, like this shit is a marathon, not a sprint. And you're young and you're tough and you're going to be around a long time. And I think
it's going to be great for him to hear that from a veteran.
I mean, I hope so. Like I hope that it helped at least, or yeah, I hope it helped. I hope it helped a little bit. I can't say for sure, but I hope that it helped a little bit. And I think the kid's real exciting, and that's another example of that thing where one of them I was on the losing side, one of them was on the winning side. But there's that mutual respect of like, once you fight someone and you go through you go through the shit with someone like that, you have an understanding of who they are as a person, and you can't help but root for them a little bit and be a little invested in theirs and hope that wish success on them.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love that, man. It's hard for me to ever be in a place really with anyone to root for someone's downfall. It's like I always want to celebrate their victory or like root them on to victory.
Were you always that way, or did you as you've grown older and wiser, do you feel like you attained that later on, or were you always that? Because you're a sweetheart, you're such a nice guy, but were you always that way?
I think so, but I think it's grown over time. I think whenever I first started fighting, I actually, in one of my first fights, is my third fight, I fought a guy out of the crowd. Or no, I was the guy out of the crowd. I was the guy in the crowd.
Yeah.
And
what
an
a
opponent.
tough night for the actual fighter. Like, hey, we're going to pull a guy out of the crowd. He happens to be a national champion wrestler. You're like, what the fuck, dude? I thought I was going to fight fucking some drunk dude at the bar, and they pull this fucking legitimate, soon-to-be UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Whoever that poor guy was, man, that matchmaker is a dickhead to do that to him.
I was that was my fastest fight I've had. And he was legitimately there to fight. His opponent didn't show. They weighed in, everything. Yeah. He was there to fight. He had a few fights, and then I was in the crowd with like, I think I was wearing the Affliction shirts, like button down jeans and like dress shoes. And I don't know why I had dress shoes on, but they were like dress shoes.
Dude, the dress shoes with the rhinestone Affliction jeans.
Kinda, yeah.
That and like
it wasn't rhinestones.
You know
like
the line of kick it. Yeah,
it was a Fleur-de Lis
with the intricate pocket design.
Yeah, it was like the weathered looking dress shoes that were like
that was
supposed
a
to
whole
be black,
vibe.
but they're kind of gray and white in there, like painted looking.
Like, oh, he's going to prom, but he also might like work on his truck. So, like, it's so mysterious. Like,
yeah, I was 19 and I my hairstylist had just named my hairstyle the Mofo.
Whoa.
It was a faux hawk on top and a mohawk in the back.
Wow.
And I was like, look at me. So I show up to a fight.
Yeah, you were sick. It like tapered down to the point in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were on a sick one.
Yeah. Had probably a little rat tail that would hang down,
not to be
I would put
trifled
some
with.
gel in it. And the first 2 fights, I showed up as a corner man, and my fighter had a staph infection the first time, jumped in day before the fight. Second one, I show up, I'm there to
What weight is this at?
heavy.
Okay.
I've always been heavyweight.
Okay.
I haven't been 235 since I was like in
shit.
8th grade.
Okay, I thought for some maybe I just wrong. I thought you fought at 205.
No,
Okay.
no, I've always been heavy, and so I think at that time I was like cutting to 265.
Oh shit!
Because the wrestling weight class is like either 275 or 285.
Right.
And so I was always at the higher end of that.
Yeah.
And then coming to fighting, I had to shed some weight.
Yeah.
And anyway, so the first 2 get in and out, take them down, beat them up, and then this one. So the funny part of it is I get pulled out of the crowd because the promoter gets in there and apologizes to this guy's fans, the people that all bought tickets.
Yeah.
You can come back for his next fight. But, you know, if there's any fighters in here. And so he gives them the mic and he goes, if there is anyone in here over 205 pounds that has any amateur fights, pro fights, and you want to fight tonight, I came here to fight. And so they said, like, raise your hand.
Famous last words.
And so I had a fake ID. I was 3 beers in. I look over at my friend and he goes, what do you think? And this guy didn't train anything. And I slammed the beer, put it down. And I go, I'm going to fight. And he goes, what? And I go, I'm going to fight. And so I just stood up and raised my hand.
Yeah.
And they literally pulled me into the cage. I shook his hand. And then then all of a sudden it hit me.
Yeah.
And I look at the promoter and I go,
Did anybody else raise their hand, or was it just?
yeah, it
you?
was just me.
Yeah.
It's just me.
You would be real surprised how many people don't raise their hand when it's actually time to fight. You'll be at an Indian reservation full of dudes with face tattoos and mohawks telling war stories about how all this shit, and then people go, "Does anybody want to get in an actual fight?" And then, beep, crickets. Like. You'd be real surprised how many dudes. It takes a special kind of sicko to raise their hand in the crowd.
So it was 2006, so the early days, right? And I don't think Iowa had a boxing commission yet, or a state athletic commission. And we're in Des Moines, and there was a bar down the street called Toad Holler. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
That's where.
That's incredible.
That's where Josh Neer got his nickname, the Dentist, because people would just go to the club, the bar, and it had a cage in it. And people would be drinking, and then someone would pick a fight, and then they would get in the cage and fight. And he had like 30, 40, 50, 60 fights that way.
I love that.
Yeah, and so the dentist, because you knocked the guy's teeth out, they're doing the boil and bite mouthpieces, right? So I'm not there. I'm at like some county fairgrounds or something like that, and go in the back, or I tell the promoter, I go, oh, I don't have shorts. I don't have a mouthpiece. I don't have a cup. I don't have anything. He goes, we'll get you squared away. And I'm like, all right, is there like a Walmart? Yeah. And I think, anyways, the store was far. It was closed because it was like, I don't know, 9:10. And so I have to borrow, someone had a boil and bite mouthpiece.
Okay.
I warmed it up in a coffee pot.
Nice.
And got it to kind of form to my mouth. I found some shorts. And then for the cup, you have to have a cup. I had to borrow a light heavyweights sweaty jock strap and cup from a 3-round war of a fight, just drenched. So I wore the cup on the outside of my boxers, not even the compression boxers, right? Like I'm just like, what am I doing? But I was excited. Yeah. And so I think it was like 16 or 19 seconds or something like that.
And so sat him down.
Yeah, he was a wrestler, so I knew when he was gonna level change. Like I just took my lead leg back and threw an uppercut, and that's kind of, and then
sat him down.
Yeah, sat him down and TKO. But anyways, fighting is
it's a circus.
It's a circus.
This is the thing. I was just talking to someone about this. You can make. I was talking to Rory McDonald about this with PFL because they're modeling it after like a real sports league with points and a season. It's a cool thing that they're doing.
And $1 million prize.
And $1 million, which is pretty fucking rad. $1 million is pretty cool. But it doesn't transfer over directly. Like fighting will never be football. It'll never be baseball. Never be basketball. Fighting will always be a little bit WWE. It'll always be a fucking circus. And I love it. It's beautiful. You can put as many corporate sponsors and you can try to shape it and mold it and fit into this like ESPN like Sports Center, like here's a quick recap of, like, you can try to mainstream it as much as possible, and it's good and it's the direction the sport should head, but it will always be a little bit of a fucking circus. And I like that about it. And even if someone doesn't, I don't think you can change it. Like the type of people who become fighters are a special breed of people. The type of people who want to be around fighting all day are a special breed of people. And I don't think you can change that. You know what I mean? I think you see it. I think it's closer to a sport like skateboarding, where you might have like Nike sponsored athletes, and you have these, and it's in the Olympics now, and it's become more mainstream. It's like just a part of our culture, part of pop culture. But if you hang around real skaters and you hang around skate culture, like they're fucking wild animals. And I don't think it'll ever change. And I think the same applies to MMA, and I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, and you, am I wrong? But you're both fighter and skater.
I wouldn't say
a little
that.
bit?
I would not call myself a skater, but I do enjoy skating.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like I can skateboard better than like a regular dude. If you went and pulled a dude off the street, I could skate better than him. But if you like got a kid who actually skates, he would laugh at me. You know what I'm saying? Like I like mostly hang out and cheer for my friend. Woo, you're doing great. like yeah, tap the board on the top of the ramp. Yeah, you fucking killing it.
Well, let's go back to, when did you decide
to skate?
To fight. Like where'd that come from? When, I mean, were you 17, 18, or were you like 10 years old and saying, I'm going to be a UFC fighter?
Yeah, somewhere in the middle, closer to 10. I mean, I was not quite 17. I was like 13 probably.
I was 13.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sick. It's a beautiful thing when you see something and you just know, like, that's what I'm going to do. Like,
yeah.
But it's weird because even as a kid, like, I remember I wouldn't watch cartoons if they didn't have fighting. Like, I didn't care about anything but fighting as a kid. Like, I only wanted to, like, Ninja Turtles, Batman, fighting. It was just like if there was no fighting, I wouldn't watch it. Like I remember the cartoons that didn't have fighting, and I wouldn't watch them, and I just thought fighting was the coolest thing. And then I saw the first season of Ultimate Fighter when I was like 13, and I was like, yep, that's it. I think I saw the first season of Ultimate Fighter, and then for the Ultimate Fighter, I used to watch on this little Sony, like smaller than the camera, like this little Sony in my bedroom, this little Sony TV. And I would watch it after school. I'd watch on Spike TV, and I would watch the Ultimate Fighter. And then for the finale, it was Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner, and then it was Ken Shamrock versus Ken Shamrock versus Rich Franklin.
Oh yes.
And I remember just being like, why the fuck would you do anything but this? Like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, how does no one get how cool? Like, I was like, this is it. Like, I remember watching it, and I remember thinking, like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Hey, don't forget to send your Overcome stories to overcomepodcast@gmail.com. And also, rate, review, subscribe, and follow Overcome with Justin Wren.